Okay, now besides a lively debate with the legislators in the House of Commons, your boss, David Miliband, wrote, and when he wrote this, he got a lot of flack for it from the Indians. He also said something similar in a press conference earlier this year, and I quote, "Resolution of the dispute over Kashmir would help deny extremists in the region one of their main call to arms."
And he was absolutely right. And it's interesting that he did get that very sensitive reaction in India.
How's it interesting?
Well, it's interesting because it shows what resistance there would be to Britain or any other power trying to come in and broker this dispute.
But High Commissioner, considering some colleagues of yours a few years ago signed a strategic cooperation treaty with the Indians, and then the British Secretary Miliband goes in and makes a case, as only friends can with each other, honestly. I'm assuming Mr. Miliband was going on the record, being honest, giving friendly advice, gets a lot of flack from everybody across the board, left, right, or center. Every Indian almost jumped on this one. Do you agree that perhaps the Indian stance of this being only an internal issue, as they claim, is not well-founded, considering the ground realities of the Kashmir dispute?
Well, look, I've said to you that I think what David Miliband said was absolutely right. It did provoke a rather angry reaction in India, but that doesn't mean that what he said was wrong. There is a dispute there. Resolving that dispute would probably do more than anything else to improve the situation in this region.
But you do agree then, you're effectively saying by that chain of logic that the Indians and their stance of this being an internal issue is not really well-founded? You are saying that?
Yeah, I think there's
because that's what Mr. Miliband is saying,
I think there's another very important factor in this, which was the dreadful attacks in Mumbai nearly a year ago, at the end of November last year, which were admitted by the government of Pakistan to have been carried out from the soil of Pakistan by Lashkar-e-Toiba, directed from here. They sailed from here. And apart from all the hundreds of Indians who were killed in that, 3 British citizens died in that dreadful attack as well. So I think, part of this process of improving the atmosphere, getting back into the composite dialogue and engagement between Pakistan and India, which we very much want to see, has got to be the government and the authorities in Pakistan showing that they're doing everything possible to prevent any further terrorist attack from Pakistani soil. They've put 7 people on trial. Those prosecutions need to come forward as soon as possible.
But it boils down to Kashmir, doesn't it, High Commissioner? Do you think that Britain has perhaps a special role to play, considering its history both with India and Pakistan? Do you feel that Britain owes it to this part of the world to help in solving this issue, this very, very dangerous issue?
If the 2 governments come to us and say they want our help, I'm sure we will be very ready to consider that. But I've explained to you clearly, we're not about to prescribe a solution.
But when your boss said that, hey guys, this is an issue, he got slammed down.
No, but I've just said to you that I think one of the most important things that can be done at the moment is for the government of Pakistan to make very clear, publicly, so that the government of India and others can see it, that you're going ahead with prosecution of those who've been charged for the Mumbai attacks. You're going ahead with measures to stop further attacks by Lashkar-e-Toiba or other terrorist groups. And it's interesting that in the last few days, you had the Interior Minister of Iran coming here to complain about a terrorist attack into Iran.
A similar issue, but then you'll have Pakistanis saying similar stuff about the Indians in Balochistan. You'll have Pakistanis complaining, and we've discussed this at length, about the Indian presence in Afghanistan, its connections to the TTP, etc. We can go back and forth on that, but speaking of Afghanistan, or rather from Afghanistan, do you support drone attacks from Afghan territory into Pakistan?
Well, I think that's a matter that the government of Pakistan and the government of the United States need to discuss.
Do you feel, as an observer of the security situation in this country, that drone attacks have helped?
I don't think it's really for me to comment on that.
But would you agree with the Pakistani position, High Commissioner, that if Pakistan had access to these drones, perhaps the war would be, it would not only build its local capacity up to fight the war, but it would also, the war would be more acceptable. Drone attacks would be more acceptable because the government, Pakistanis themselves, would be targeting these guys instead of a foreign power. Do you see that point of view?
I know that this issue is really difficult. First of all, I mean, we can see that from the point of view of the security of Pakistan, the security of the UK, the security of the US, it's a good thing if the threat from Al-Qaeda, from international terrorists, is reduced. There's no question about it, that's a good thing. On the other hand, if reducing that threat causes civilian casualties, that's a bad thing. You could argue that a way out of this, sort of first best solution is giving the capability to Pakistan. But first best solutions aren't always available.
Do you think the UK can help Pakistan talk to the Americans to get access to this drone technology? Would the UK do it?
I think the government of Pakistan and the government of the US are already talking to each other. They don't need our help to do that, and that's what they should be doing.
But you have a very special relationship with both countries. Friends help. Friends can't hurt. Are you willing to offer that support?
They're already talking.
Well, let's hold it right there, High Commissioner. We'll be right back after this break.